we'll watch this. YouTube, no one's gonna pay you.
The path shapes you.
We'll watch the trailer.
The spirits perfect you.
Oh my god, we got a Junkrat skin. It's actually, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to be. Like, I'm sure there is some... I think it's a Japanese... like, demon. I actually don't know. No, they're fire wheels. Is this, oh my god, there's something with... First of all, what is it? Wind and fire wheels? Are those the two wheels that are... There's a kung fu weapon? I forget. Who's that guy?
Misery made manifest.
I forget that guy's names.
How's my KD? We got them,
Silva. I'll light my own.
It's actually Chinese. And May be the... Hold on. Where's the fucking... I actually know it from Smite. Let me double check. This just hit me. It's not Ho Yi. May already has the... what is it? Chang'e? That was the Moon Princess. No, it's gonna take me way too long to find it. Yeah, I'm not going to. Is he a wheel yokai with that face? He could be.
Lure me out.
I mean, first of all,
We got them, Silva.
the fact that they're doing this,
I'll light my
they go, hey, this is what you get in the battle
own
pass.
path.
This is what you have to buy. I think that's a really good thing of note that they did differently this time. She's some Oni.
Lure me out. I dare you.
New control map. New control map. I'm not seeing anything crazy sightlines. Like, things seem somewhat congested. Like, basically, I'm just looking, is it hit scan favor or not? It looks fine. Of course, Arisa never dies. Oh, she died. That's not canon. That is actually not possible.
That was so cool. Let the Kitsune guide you.
Truly an honor.
The fuck is this? Straight up. What? Blizzard. Blizzard!
Truly an honor.
Also, there's some dating sim they're throwing in the game for a couple days where you can, like, try to seduce Genji or Mercy.
My genius is finally recognized.
One punch is all I need.
So this is actually really good. The fact that I don't give a fuck about One Punch Man. It's the fact that they are starting to do like the cross promo stuff that, like, if you look at Smite, like, they have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they have Avatar: The Last Airbender, they got like a whole bunch of other crazy shit, and I believe Fortnite does the same thing. And this is like a good sponsorship. It's a good way to make money. It's a good way to get like, it just overall, like, this concept is really good to have in Overwatch, and we need this. It just helps. It helps everyone. Apparently there's Pachimarchi event. It goes on in March.
Nice one!
And then Overwatch World Cup. The good thing about the World Cup is that it's going to probably be a shit meta, and so we'll probably get some balance changes because the game's going to be dog shit. Sombra.
Howdy.
Invisible.
You're in the presence of a legend.
So overall, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anyways. The bad part about all of that is I don't care about it. It's cool. Cool stuff. I'll go through a lot of these things really quick. New map Antarctica. Oh, sorry. Antarctic Peninsula. Cool. Streamer Protect. I'm probably not going to be using this just because I'm not a big enough streamer that people snipe me. Also, it kind of blanks out the names for everyone that you play with. And I believe it blanks out your name on other people's screens as well. The problem with mine is I got a pretty short name, so even if you blank out everything but the first and the last letter, you have half of my name. Don't care about updates, endorsements, none of this fucking matters. Yeah, Overwatch credits are back, that's cool, whatever. Pinks, yeah. Okay, here we go. So, hero updates. First of all, ultimate charge retained from swapping heroes is reduced from 30 to 25%. SVB has this idea that, like, because there's any alt retention ever, that it makes it worse. In fact, because you get counterpicked, you actually lose alt, and that's just wrong. That entire idea is really fucking stupid, and I'll tell you why. It's like when people do taxes, and they're like, oh, I got a raise, but I told my manager I don't want that extra money because it puts me in a higher tax bracket, and I denied a promotion, and I'm making more money because I didn't accept that. It's like, no, you fucking dumbass. That's not how it works. I'll just say this. Having more alt is better. And if they change their hero and they retain 30% of their alt, and you're at 50, you better use your alt in that 20%, or there really is no advantage. So, there's always an advantage having more alt than the other person. Always. There just is. So this is fine, and I'm all good with this. Again, I don't care about hero swapping. I personally, I just don't change my hero. But overall, like, I do support the idea of actually getting rid of swapping completely, but a lot of other things would have to happen in the game, and I do it more from just a tactical and design perspective rather than thinking if it's cooler. It would be much better for the game if you actually didn't have swaps. There would have to be a lot of rebalancing, but that's a whole nother conversation. So this is cool. I'm all about not a lot of ultimates. If they made ultimates once or twice a game, I would be so happy. The tank roll passive. So there's a new passive for anything non-roll queue, which is minus 150 health for every tank. So this doesn't change anything when you're doing roll queue competitive. It's just there so when you play open queue, it's not 4 tanks and a support against 4 tanks and a support. So don't worry about this. Diva, no changes, just the roll queue change. Doomfist, again, no changes, just the roll queue shift. Junkrat Queen did get her hit point, and if you watch the interview, this is actually really infuriating, because they go, oh, well, we didn't want any tank to have less than 300 hit points after the minus 150 hit points. And if she was at 425 and she got minus 150, she'd be at 275. That's why they increased their hit points by 25. This had nothing to do with balance. This had nothing to do with anything. There, no win rates, no nothing. There's no nothing. They did minus 150 hit point to all tanks. She was below 300 hit points. So because of that, they increased it for all modes by 25. That being said, Junkrat Queen's not crazy strong, so it's fine. I don't think it's a big deal. But it's one of these things where I'm like, alright, like, I get you guys are trying to be smart about balance, but then you do something like this, where it's you're just like, oh no, it's gonna fuck up, mystery heroes, so we're gonna buff Junkrat Queen in all modes because we don't want it to be bad in mystery heroes. Arisa, so HP changes are just for the roll queue thing, but this is the only nerf she gets. Fall off range reduced from 25 to 15. Now this is somewhat impactful. I mean, 10 meters before her fall off starts sooner, like that's actually something. That being said, Arisa is just immortal. As a DPS hero in top 500, there's no reason ever to attack an Arisa. In an actual competitive game, if you attack an Arisa, you're losing the game. I wish she had windows of opportunity. I wish there was some counterplay, but there's not. There's nothing. You have to kill the supports, and then you can kill the Arisa. So, while this is cool, it doesn't change Arisa's ridiculousness. And as we go through all the other changes, I'm going to say, if you're picking the best tank, it's still going to be Arisa. She's just so fucking good. She is so good. She has a stun. She doesn't die ever. Basically has unlimited ammo. Ult goes through shields. Like, there's just nothing bad about her. So, Ramatra, health, don't worry about this. Is roll Q shit. So now, damaging enemies with your ultimate slows it down. It doesn't make it go indefinite. So I think it was like, I think it slows it down by like a fourth, or it reduces the time that goes down to 25%, because I believe they say it lasts for 20 seconds. Normally it lasts for 5 seconds, if I remember correctly. So whenever you're hitting something, it goes down at a fourth of the rate. But the ultimate cost has increased by 12%. So this is good. It gets rid of the ridiculous situations, but like ult increased by 12%. There were times when Ramatra had ult every single fight. Yeah, that is true. Chat just mentioned an excessive amount of visual noise. So we're limiting the maximum duration to 20 seconds. It's like, well, that doesn't help us about the VFX. It won't last forever. It's going to come up a little bit less. So cool. I think good changes. Ramatra overall, like, he's a very, I don't want to say he's not a good hero. You can always account for him. While Diva and Monkey, they can do some crazy shit and it's hard to account for them. Like Reinhardt and Ramatra, you're like, I can kind of get what you're going to do. You don't have high mobility. You do some good stuff. You have some... there's just an all-around a good hero, and there's nothing crazy about it. So I'm fine with all of this. They're both nerfs. And at this point in the game, I'd rather see nerfs than buffs for him. Reinhardt, don't worry about this. This is the roll Q stuff. Charge, reduced by a second. Sure. This basically... The only time I see this really mattering is Reinhardt's will use this to get from spawn faster. So now they're going to have charge in combat after coming back from spawn a little bit quicker, which is fine to me. Like, I get it. Fire Strike, this one's actually big. 90 to 100 damage, so it can go back to one-shotting Tire. And with Baptiste Window, it does one-shot heroes. During the dev interview, it was really funny, because Siegel's like, you guys keep on talking about removing one-shots like Hog and all this stuff, and then you gave it right to Reinhardt? And the dev was like, we know, we're monitoring it, but we just want to add some power into Reinhardt. So it's like, okay, cool. Because right here they go, oh, we wanted to take away his one-shot from his ultimate if it hits someone. We increased the stun duration so he can follow up on it and increase his ultimate percentage. But we wanted to get rid of the one-shot, added the one-shot. They're fine with this because it's another hero's ultimate and not even his own ultimate, right? So, I mean, I get it. I understand. There's more conditions around it. One swing will kill someone after taking a direct hit from this, so it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's there to add a second of counterplay for supports, right? Baptiste Lamp, Rico, a heal, a nano, like, they can do there's a second opening now for supports to do something. I like that. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Rocket Hammer, apparently, I just haven't played against Reinhardt enough, even in my 6 years of Overwatch. Very rarely have I used or have been able to get away from Reinhardt when he hits me and I jump towards that direction. So they did this because, like, Reinhardt apparently had a chance to push people away from him. For me, this is a buff. I see this as a nerf to Reinhardt, because I don't ever see this really making that big of a difference. I'm sure Ryan mains would disagree. Okay, like I understand if you play Ryan more, then I that's cool. But I can now shoot him faster, and I'm not just getting fucking whacked around where just like all of a sudden you're just looking somewhere else because it pushed you somewhere. Yeah, right here. I love this. We generally like to avoid heroes in the tank role from killing enemies with one shot. Added that. But yes. So overall, Reinhardt, just like I said with Ramatra, you can account for him. He's a very consistent variable, and that's why people truly love when Reinhardt's meta, because that means you're often going to see a variable that you can account for. I don't think it has to do with I would not account for it for balance. I don't think Ryan's some mystical hero that when he's meta, the game's great. Reinhardt is just a very slow, consistent variable that you can account for. And people like playing against them because they can outplay him, and he can outplay them. Like it's nice. Roadhog, don't worry about this. Again, roll Q shit. Duration increased. His ultimate increased from 6 to 8, and his ult increased by 8%. And they're just like, you can use abilities during it, and when you use an ability, it feels like the ultimate did nothing. Also, they've showed his win rate, and it dropped down from like 48% down to 41%. And the dev even said, he's like, if this makes him stronger, we got room to work. He's not in a good spot right now. So, cool. I think this is fine. Sigma, nothing really changed. Alt increased by 7%. Winston, they reduced his shield damage, or his shield health, by 50. And they're like, oh, this will change a lot of breakpoints. And I'm like, not really, but sure. I would like to see it at 600. I think it is a little bit too strong. But 50 hit points is not that big. They just want people to shoot it. But no, Wrecking Ball. This is the one tank. So, Orisa's still super strong. Reinhardt's getting up there. He's probably an option next season. And then Wrecking Ball, after these buffs, are probably going to be an option as well. And these buffs are... his health has been changed. He has 450 health. 150 shields. I believe he still has armor too. I wish they kind of said what his armor was at. But this basically allows him to, because it will always hit shields first, and then armor, and then the health. The shields allow him to just be a little bit better by himself. He can just run away and automatically heal the 150. Obviously, if he did more damage to him, then he needs a health pack or something. But either way, it just gives him more agency. And I'm for this. I actually think he's 150 armor. Okay, so it's 450 health, 150 armor, 150 shields. So he's at what, 750 total health. I actually think DPS heroes should be 50 health, 150 shield, just to make him allow to move without a support. But that's probably on top of this, you get the pile driver reduced 10 to 8. It's a buff. I don't see it as a big deal. The way Hammond works is if he pile drives and kills you, you're dead. Doesn't fucking matter. But if you survive, then he fucks off. And for him to get enough health to actually try to do that again, it usually takes him 10 seconds. Maybe 8. But either way, because he has to go back, get a health pack, and then come all the way back and do the thing again. So it's not like he's just like every 8 seconds he's pile driving. There's so much downtime with the hero between his combos that it's not a big deal to me. It's cool, but again, I don't think overall it'll affect that much. It may allow him to attack a little bit sooner after he gets health backs, but that's fine. Minefield ultimate cost increased by 9%. Arming time from 1.5 down to 1. As Siegel put it, he's like, you said you didn't want one-shots, and he's like, it's essentially a one-shot. Pile drive into alt, he's like, it's going to kill you. And there's nothing they can do about it. And they're like, we'll watch. We're monitoring. So we'll see. Zarya, Graviton Surge, alt increased by 8%. Now, the thing about all the alts, you've noticed, well, they're changing all the alt percentages. They're increasing all of them. What they've said is, they go, we looked at how many ultimates are coming up and how fast they're coming up. And he's like, we have an idea of how many alts we kind of want in the game. And one a fight is way too fast. And they're like, we're looking at 2 of them. An ultimate every other fight. And Siegel's like, fuck ultimates, I want them once every 3rd fight. And he's like, yeah, we're figuring out where we want it to be. So if you see anything a change to an alt, it's because they're looking at ultimates every other fight. So any alt change in these patch notes, I get that it could be a buff, it could be a nerf, but they're more or less trying to standardize it, which is like, all right, cool. So damage. Cassidy. He can now roll through enemy players. Sure. Sure. Not. Sure. That's all I can say. But Peacekeeper gets fall off by 5 meters. That's somewhat interesting. I consider Cassidy the king of mid-range. He is who I fear as a Junkrat at mid-range more than anyone else in the entire game. People are like, what about Farah? Or like, no, fuck that. Like, Cassidy is slept on. People complain about Junkrat's combo to one-shot people. Cassidy's is a homing grenade, and he just shoots you in the body and you're dead. It's much, much stronger than Junkrat's combo, believe it. Junkrat's combo, where it gets its strength from, is the fact that he can spend another mine to kind of get at you in a weird way. But then if he misses, he's out of everything. Junkrat without mine it loses against everyone in the one. In most cases. Also, and Siegel did mention this, he's like, you guys seem to be buffing hit scan so they can compete with Widow. And they're like, we're not doing that. We're not thinking about that at all. This is just what the hero needs. And he's like, I don't know. There's a lot of coincidences that are happening. But I think Cassidy's strong now. He will definitely be stronger with this. And now for what you all guys have come here for. What do I think about Junkrat? Junkrat, maximum damage reduced from 120 to 100. As the concussion mine already has damage fall off, the further from the explosion the enemy the player is, lowering the maximum damage will require Junkrat to be slightly more accurate to achieve the same lethality with some of his combos. If, I forget who did it in Discord, if the math is correct, before you had to throw concussive mine within 1 meter of a hero to get 80 damage. At this point, you need to throw concussive mine within 0.4 meters of a hero, which is the width of Ana's dart, right? It's the width of a Mercy projectile, it's the width of Junkrat's grenade. So you gotta throw a mine, 0.42, I believe, is what was it in Sorcerer? Was that you? I didn't run the math because we've tried me doing math before and it didn't work out too well. So you got to be pretty accurate with it to get the 80 minimum damage required. That being said, if Lucio is around, Trap Mine will no longer kill. Also, Concussive Mine has the hardest fall off in the game. And by that I mean it goes down to 25% of its maximum damage. Most abilities go down to 30, but Junkrat's Mine is going to do 25 to 100 damage now when it's throwing. It comes up more often, but believe it or not, it's actually one of the weaker AoE abilities in the game, as compared to Dynamite or others. And it has a faster cooldown. You know, there are other benefits to it. But as just AoE raw numbers, not that strong. Where I have an issue with this is, one, it's not that imaginative. It's a pretty lame way to nerf them. And Mine is really fickle. People don't understand this, but it's really fickle. You can hit someone in the face with this and detonate it, and it'll do 20 damage. Well, no, 30 damage. It'll be really close and do almost no damage. It's just, it has a chance to not do much, even if it's within the range. And the thing that sucks with this is that because the fall-off damage on it is so severe and so sharp, if you hit someone with Concussive Mine and you airshot them, you're not going to get rewarded. And that's actually what I'm upset more than anything. I wish, like, they would have buffed it in a way where, like, have it 100 damage, that's fine. But if you hit someone in the air with Junkrat's primary while under the effect of Concussive Mine, they would take an extra 50 damage, say. And I just wanted to be able to still combo people if I Concussive Mine them and airshot them. Under pretty much any circumstances, what I would like. So if they wanted to lower it to 80 damage, but have no fall off, so everyone in the 3 meter radius took 80 damage, so I could always consistently airshot people, I would fuck. It's because the mine is just so inconsistent that's what really hurts me. I don't really care this from a combo perspective. Most of the time, you hit them with the mine and you kill them. Yeah. 80 wouldn't kill with trap. I mean, I'm fine with it not killing with trap if I get something like 80 consistent damage in the whole AoE. Like, to me, that is a very big benefit. Not to mention, Concussive Mine can get destroyed when it lands. It can get absorbed. It can be deflected. It's a key part of his kit, and it definitely. I think the strange thing about this is that, think about Sojourn. Every time they nerfed her, they gave her a compensation buff, and if she's still going to be meta after 5 months. Junkrat was meta for about 2. And they hit him harder with any type of change than they've ever hit Sojourn. And there's not even like a compensation thing. It's not like his ultimate got decreased. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just a lot. What do I see happening to Junkrat with this in Season 2? Well, almost all hit scans getting buffed. Almost all off metas getting nerfed. So, I see a lot of the people that play Junkrat, fair weather fans, if you will, like people that just played with him when he's strong, they're probably not going to play him. I think me and all the other Junkrat 1 tricks, we're going to keep playing him, because that's what we do. And I only see this really affecting... I see it punishing people with air shots. That's really... Like, when someone knocks them around and then air shot, it's not going to affect the combo much, because most people land the combo perfect. Chat brings up counterplay. It was very weird when they talked about Widow. So later in the patch notes, Widow is down to 175 hit points. And they're like, well, we had to nerf Widow just because, people jumped on her and sometimes she would get away with nothing and, it wasn't worth going after her and she was really strong. And, do you have to change your whole team to deal with a Widow? Because then you could just kill her really easily. And Siegel didn't bring this up, and I wish he did. And I don't blame him for not doing it. But whenever they talked about heroes being strong, they talked about counters. When they talked about Junkrat being strong, they're just like, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you're against a Kariko, Pharaoh, Echo, Mercy, and you can't kill any of them. Right? They're just like, no. We're not going to talk about counters with Junkrat. We're not going to talk about where he's weak. He just always gets a kill. And it's like, man, this is sounding really biased. I would like mine to be changed either 80%, 80 damage consistently. Give him a buff so that every time he hits someone after the first, it does 20% more damage or something. You know, like, I wish you were rewarded more for accuracy, is what I'm trying to say. Because right now you're not. Expect with this, you're not. You really have to be more accurate than hit scan to really start beating people. Yeah, I see what's going to piss me off. I know it's going to happen a lot. I'm going to throw mine at someone. They're going to go in the air. I'm going to shoot them in the air, and they're going to have 5 health. That's what's going to happen to me, like, a lot. It sucks. But we're still going to fucking play it, guys. Like, I've been playing Junkrat since Season 1 on the original one trick. I've never played anything else any other time. I played with him through self-damage. I played with him through, 2 mines, no fall-off. Those were the good days. We played with them when they nerfed the shit out of them. And I played them against double sniper. That was horrible. Double shields. We did really well, but it sucked. It wasn't fun. And goats, and just we stuck with them through thick and thin. This is just a thin time. I'm not gonna lie. The rats got fat, guys. In Overwatch 2, we only had fat rats. Back in the day, we were thin. There were very few of us. We had to survive on our wits alone. And maybe we're going to get back to that time. I think all the fat rats are going to stop playing, and the thin rats, well, yeah, we're a little fat now, and we're going to get a little thinner, but we're still going to stick around. Oh, they also mentioned... What is a fat rat again? It just means, like, Junkrat's easy to play right now. So, people are winning with Junkrat, so they're fat. It's the good times, right? Lots of food, everyone's having fun. We got fat rats. They did mention that with Junkrat, they don't have the technology to do this yet, but they're like, we're looking at reducing his projectile size after the first bounce. And I'm on the fence about that. I would rather have Junkrat lose AoE damage after the first bounce rather than size. Just because I do plan my ricochets. I know people don't believe me, but I do. And if you're like, oh, his ricochet after the first bounce, it goes down to 0.1 size. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, it's very, very difficult to have basically a hit scan level projectile after I bounce it off of someone and I gotta hit him around the corner. Like, this is ridiculous. I would rather have, if it goes past 25 meters, it starts taking away explosion damage and starts adding impact damage. And so at 35 meters or 40 meters, it does no explosion damage, only impact damage. Like, just allow me to hit the guy. But we'll see what happens when they have that technology. They said it's down the road and they're looking at stuff because, they're like, they said a really weird thing. He said, and this is, against with Symmetra. He's like, Symmetra's doing really good, and she does a lot of annoying things, but she isn't popular enough for us to nerf her yet. And I'm like, popularity has no fucking... It has nothing to do with how balanced a hero is. Either that hero is balanced or it's not. And if the hero does something annoying, then you should fix it. Like, you should make the game as good as possible. We shouldn't wait until Symmetra does something, like, is more popular, and then the annoying part's really annoying, and you gotta change it. Like, we should be doing something about it. It was a really strange sentence where he straight up said she's not popular enough to nerf her because while she's annoying, it's just you don't see her that And I think the problem with Junkrat is they saw him a lot and he's annoying, so that's why they're nerfing him so. That's all I gotta say about Junkrat. He's going to be weak next season for sure. But we'll see how it goes. May, ultimate cost reduced by 5%. Farah, alt reduced by 5%. Death Blossom, alt reduced 8%. Again, this is all just so it doesn't come up as often. Oh, so it comes up more often. Once every 2 fights. Soldier 76 gets some fucking love. Recoil reduced by 12%, and then maximum recoil increased from 4 to 6 shots. This is more of an adjustment for the gun feels rather than strictly trying to add power, which is really weird to say because it definitely adds power. But it does have an effect on both. It makes the weapon handle more similar to the original version, and that you can burst fire more accurately before the recoil comes in. Again, this really takes effect at longer ranges. So, we'll see. Again, it's like, oh, Soldier can now maybe do some damage to Widow? Right? Same thing with McCree. Like, these hit scans are now... They're a little bit better at range. Which is terrifying, because hit scan already is superior than to pretty much everything else. If you're good, that is. If you're good. Sombra, she gets a... What is that? 8% damage buff? And then her health pack hack duration increased by 15 seconds. And I loved it during the dev interview. They're like, 50% increase. Oh, and it's like, can we stop using percentages when they sound big? That's like when Junkrat got a projectile size increase, people were saying by volume. Like, it's a sphere, so you gotta count, you gotta look at it from the volume. It increased by 70% in volume. And I'm like, guys, the radius went up by 0.05. Let's stop trying to phrase it in a way that scares me. Yeah, Sombra is underperforming. Yes. They did talk a bit about her on the dev talk. They're like, we know Sombra does things that you can't interact with. She's kind of playing her own game. They're like, that's kind of what the hero's designed to do, but at the same time, she plays her own game too much. How do we make it funner to interact? Because half the time she just hacked someone, she teleported away, and you had no way to interact. I get that. Sim, alting cross by 10%. Torb turret, down by 25 health. And they're just like, look, there's one less person to shoot it in 5v5, and it just lasts for a while. We're just doing this. Yeah, Junkrat can now 2-shot it. People are saying, like, okay, but, like, did Torb... Was Torb a fucking issue? Like, I get that they're trying to align all the alts. I get that. That's not a big deal to me. They're just like, yeah, on average, we win it every 2 fights. But, like, the Junkrat nerf, the Torb nerf, Soldier, Cassidy, they're buffing hit scans. And as you've noticed, no Soldier nerfs. So, yeah, there's that. Widowmaker, we kind of talked about this. Health down to 175. I wish they nerfed her strength. Like, I think snipers are way too strong in Overwatch. And what that has the biggest effect on is actually map design. Because hit scan is so strong, 90% of most maps are unusable. You can't just be in the open, right? You always have to be back cover. Even other hit scans have to be back cover. It's pretty... It kind of sucks. And if you ever play a game that's against a couple of projectile heroes and you can play the whole field, the game feels so much fun. So this is really why I don't like snipers. It's just like, let me play in the map. Like, let me do things. This is why battle royales are all projectiles. Because battle royales, they want big open maps with some like small areas and some cover here and there and there. But like, they really want this big open map. And if you have hit scan, you just can't. It's not possible. It's not fair. Hit scan would always win in that type of environment. So, for the sake of having a fun map and an interesting map and basically maps that you can do a lot more with, you make everything a projectile. I'm not saying do that in Overwatch, but I'm saying if you limited hit scan, you would have different fights in every map because they would take place in a different area. right now, Overwatch is played almost the same way on every single map with every single combination, with every single hero. Just because of how maps are designed and how strong this game is. You can't do things other than what's required, which sucks. Now we look at supports. Bio Grenade, 4 to 3.5 duration. So when Hog was too strong, they buffed it from 3 to 4. Now that Hog is weak, they reduced it by 0.5. I really wish they would have just reduced it to 3. And again, I don't like how strong Bionic Grenade is. I think it should be 1 or 1.5. Or keep it at 4 and make it reduce healing by half instead of just being no heal. Ana is way too strong. Ana is just fucking so good of a hero. And I think that starts having an effect. Like, Ana's always played, so Kiriko now is always required. But it looks like they're going to try to elevate things to Kiriko's level, which is fucking terrifying. Brig? Repair pack? If someone could correct me, but her healing is 55 per second for 2.5 seconds? I think that's correct. So from 50 to 50, from 55 to 50, she loses what? Is it only 2 seconds? Wiki says, okay, it's over 2 seconds. Perfect. That makes math so much easier. So she goes from 110 health per pack down to 100, but it instantly applies 25 health on it. So her healing has been buffed to 125 over 2 seconds with an immediate 25 on hit. Overall, a net buff. It also helps her essentially burst heal, because that is definitely her weakness right now, is that it's a slow heal. Especially when it seems like they're kind of moving all DPS towards the burst damage type design. That's really what I feel. I think they're going to make DPS all about burst damage. Which is why we're seeing Soldier get nerfed or buffed. And Cassidy get buffed to do more damage. So this is just straight up good. This is a buff. And it helps her in a way that she was really lacking before. Rally, ultimate cost reduced by 10%. Cool. These are all good things. Brig is... I don't think I've seen her in top 500. Lucio, ultimate reduced by 7%. They're talking it. They're just like, yeah, Lucio, like, we like defensive ultimates, but sometimes defensive ultimates feel weaker. And a lot of the time, DPS heroes were building their ultimates before Lucio could get his up. So, they reduced it. Oh, man, and here we are. Here's the big one. Mercy. Guardian Angel. Cooldown increase from 1.5 to 2.5. Also, the backwards directional input has been slowed down by 20%. Clearly, this is a nerf. People are losing their mind. They're like, oh, she feels so clunky now. And I'm like, well, that's... because you had unrestricted movement and now you're slightly restricted, I understand that you think it's clunky, but it's not that bad. Cassidy staff, or however the hell you say it. HP per second from 55 to 45. Healing is increased by 50% for allies under half health. This is actually interesting, because it does nothing to her overall healing from a hero from 1 health to full. Doesn't do anything. It's the same. It makes it more interesting, and it has some more effects because of it. Particularly what I'm interested in is tanks. Because with DPS heroes and support heroes, it's 200 health. So it's like, oh, when you're under 100 health, she really heals you fast. And I'm like, yeah, if you're under 100 health, you're fucking dead. So if someone gets shot, a little bit, like when she's pocketing a Farah, she's going to heal her more slowly overall until it gets really low and it gets really scary, and then it'll. Overall, I don't think it's going to change much. Like McCree would actually be better to body shot then headshot a Farah than to headshot then body shot. Right, because a headshot would buff the they would get the 50% increase bonus right away. But for tanks, let's say for Orisa, who's a very easy example, half health, half armor. So now Mercy doesn't work with armor-based tanks as well, because armor-based tanks get really, really good effective hit point or effective healing. Because when you heal for 70 and 70 bits armor, that's worth a lot more. 30% more to be exact. But now Mercy heals essentially armor slow. Which is just a really interesting way of looking. If someone's low on health, then she can just kind of zip around and get everyone to half health and have someone else finish them off or top them off. But it just adds in more balancing points. It adds in more interesting mechanics. It's just interesting. It's encouraging hard pocket Mercy. No, it's actually the opposite. This encourages not to pocket. Because if you're pocketing someone, you're always getting your reduced healing %. You're never getting it. If you're always pocketing someone, it is an effective nerf. Because you're always doing the 45 health a second instead of the bonus. Also, if you're pocketing someone, and this is what this really is against, because I know everyone's like, Mercy's issue was damage boost and res. No. Yes, but no. You can attack it from two different ways. Mercy was an evasive, consistent heal. Now, you can essentially change either part of her kit, and you can retain a good chunk of her identity. The big thing is just that she has to keep her move, which they did. I know it's nerfed by a second, but that doesn't change that much. She's still going to feel mostly the same. And they went with the opposite. They're like, all right, we're going to change this, so we're not going to... We like damage boost being strong, and when you use it, it feels strong, but you're going to have to really know when to use it, because if you're not healing, then you're fucked. And this is what they did. Regeneration passive removed. And I love that how Mercy's... I think a lot of Mercy players didn't know this, but Mercy's passive and the support passive stack. If you didn't attack Mercy within 1 second, she healed, I think it was like 22 or 23 hit points a second. That's really fast. And when she's just zooming around and you don't hit her for a couple seconds, she's already back up to like half. What they did is they got rid of it. Now she has sympathetic recovery. She heals herself for 25% of the healing done up the staff. Now, there's some meme video from CarQ where he's like, I'm healing 4 tanks at once that are below half health. I can tank Bob. I can tank his 100 DPS because I'm getting... Oh. Her Valkyrie always heals at 60 HP a second. So that means if they're below half health, you heal at 90 a second. And you're getting 25%, which is like 22 or 23 health a second. And if it's bouncing off of 3 targets, well, then you're healing like at 75 hit points a second. It's really crazy. Now remember what I said about pocketing. If you're attacking the Mercy, and she's pocketing a Farah, and you don't attack the Farah, she doesn't have a healing passive anymore. You actually have to be healing someone for her to get that extra bonus. You can't just be topping someone off constantly. So, while Mercy is a little less evasive, and she has a little bit more committal because it went from 1.5 seconds to 2.5, which is not the biggest thing, the bigger one is if you hurt Mercy, she's not healing as much. Like, just don't attack the person she's healing, and she will not recover health like she did before. So this is a very interesting way of nerfing Pocket Mercy. It is definitely, and I'm not saying there's a simpler way to do this, this is a really roundabout, strange way to nerf Pocket Mercy. But it technically does. So if she's damage boosting someone, she's not getting the health back, right? Chat says, why not hit it directly then? Because it's fucking Blizzard, Worm. That's why. That's a stupid question. Blizzard only deals in oblique, roundabout resolutions. This is how they've always worked. Oh yeah, that's a weird problem. I'm gonna fuck with this over here. And they just don't go straight at it. This is just how they do everything. Yeah. So, all of this, I like it. I have a chance to kill Mercy. And when you damage Mercy, you have a chance to follow up and kill her. Mercy she's been strong. She's been way too strong for way too long. And I think all of these changes are really good for her, and I believe they're good for the game. I think people are going to be super complaining about this, but fuck them. Like, Mercy needed to be in a different spot. That's it. They could have went, looking at damage boost and changing things, but it's clear with this patch. Oh, and we'll go over the next one before I get into this one. Moira, alt reduced by 5%. Zenyatta gets 5 more ammo. Cool. With this patch, and this is kind of like my overall feeling about the patch notes, it's clear they really like things a certain way. And by that, I mean, they didn't get rid of Junkrat's one-shot. Everyone complained about it. But they didn't get rid of it. They just made it occur less. With Widow, people complained about it. They didn't deal with the complaint part. They just made her easier to dive. With Mercy, they didn't change damage boost. They liked that it was strong. So they dealt with the rest of her kit in a different way. They're doing this with every single hero. They're like, we're fine with when the hero is strong in this way. Because that's what the hero is supposed to do. And that's what makes heroes feel different and unique. And I kind of agree with that direction. Like, yes. I don't agree with going about things in a really roundabout way, but heroes should be strong in their own unique way. And just because you're pissed off at their strength doesn't mean you just completely gut the hero. And we say that and we look at what happened to Hog. Well, maybe Hog shouldn't be about one shot, right? At what point is their strength too strong? That's a good question. Where do we draw the line? That's called design. Yeah, you have to. That is the balance. Is that their strength needs to be so strong that it's unique and usable, but it's not to the degree that there's nothing else you can do against it. Yeah, overall, it's just like every single time. They don't. What people perceive to be the problem is actually their strength, is what I'm trying to say. Because this doesn't get rid of Junkrat's. What everyone complains about, right? No. No one complained about Cassidy. Actually, all these changes were So, that's what I really have to say overall about the patch. I will say this. The amount of changes, this is what I expect from a start of the season patch. This is an acceptable level for a patch every 2 months. I would expect half of this every 2 months. So they're finally at the rate of, hey, let's actually do a patch that changes things. Yeah. Oh, map pools, whatever. I don't really give a shit about this. Yeah. What do I think is going to happen in Season 3? Fucking nothing. Orisa not changed. Soldier not changed. Mercy damage boost not changed. Oh, Kiriko not changed. They're going to go Kiriko, Mercy, Sojourn, Orisa. It's going to be the same fucking game. Which sucks, because that means all of these changes don't mean anything. We'll probably see Reinhardt and Hammond a little bit more a couple times. But I do predict in 2 to 3 weeks we're going to be seeing the same meta we've always seen. Which really upsets me, because it's like, they're like, oh, we don't want goats to happen ever again. We're going to change the game. Sojourn been meta for 5 months. Cool. Like, goats is happening again. They fixed Junkrat's trap bug? No, didn't they change? Fix an issue with steel traps sometimes failing to place. I mean, they didn't make it more consistent where it grabs someone all the time. It's just where it, like, you throw it on a roof and it just go like, and then it would like kill itself. Okay. Yeah, I'll put that up on YouTube.